The next thing I want to do is make these bigger because my actual example, they're slightly bigger. Right now, they're kind of tiny. And we'll add the images too. But first, let's increase their size. So in our code here, you'll notice there's actually some inline style here that came from Bootstrap itself. So instead of 18 rems, I think I'm going to do, let's start with 100% width. Let's see if that improves things. I'll do it for this as well. Let's see what that looks like. 3, 2, 1, refresh. And that's actually pretty good. Very wide. I may keep it that way. The original was about yay big. So we could size this down some. Maybe I will do that. Maybe we'll bring this down to 80%. Save this. 3, 2, 1, refresh. And that's pretty good. It's not bad. It's a little bit closer to my example, sort of. So let's stick with that. So this is 80% width. That's inline styled here. So that's good here. Let's add the pictures. So the first one in my example is this one here, my buddy. Back to here. The image itself is called Tony, so that'll live here. And since I'm using my HTML, which is in the same level as the folder, I can just write the folder name, img, Tony, PNG. Always a good idea to use alternate text. Put that there. Save that. Let's do the other ones. The next one is this picture. That picture's name is j4bl.png. Let's call this, it's real quick here. Should put a longer description here, but to save time, I'll just keep it like that. Then in here, I got the fish one and the food one. IMG. This one was PNG. And then this one here, IMG. PNG. So I'm adding the images just to see what it looks like. Adding alternate text. That's important. I didn't change these widths. I should do that. Let's call these 80%. This one, change this to 80% to match the other three. So if I save this, I've added the pictures now to my browser. 3, 2, 1, refresh. And this is getting a little better. Actually, I want to move them over a little bit so that they're centered in here. So the way to do that horizontally is MX Auto. Now, I've already added margin here. So let's see what happens if I add it here. MX Auto. And here, MX Auto. So I have margin. I max out the margin top and bottom, and now I wanted to center it in the X direction. So what this look like? 3, 2, 1, refresh. It didn't really work. So that tells me that this MX Auto may need to go in a different div. So perhaps it's the next one. So maybe under card, that goes there. This is not the right spot, perhaps. Goes under card, so that the card itself is centered. back to here, 3, 2, 1, refresh. And now it's centered more properly. So that's pretty good. The original is here. Very close together, but you know what? I kind of like how it looks this way. So maybe we'll keep it that way. So we should do the same for these. Back over here. Since it's already cut and paste, I'll just paste it in here and here. Save this. 3, 2, 1, refresh. Now they line up nicely. The original had this cropped like this. Our current example is not cropped. Depending on how you like it, you may want to even up your pictures to make them even. You can add additional style to crop these too, but you can leave it like this. This is not bad. I think I'll leave it like this. And of course, you can add your own text. I'm not going to change this text. You can do that on your own. But here's this layout so far. So far, we've got this, we've got this, and we've got this. We did have some text up here, so we'll add that too. That needs to go in the middle here. So let's go back into the code. Scroll back to the beginning of the row. And I think we want to put it in here, this extra text. We want a new div. And we want it to take up the entire width of this section here. So maybe we can do column 12. Remember, Bootstrap works on factors of 12. So maybe we'll do that. So our original has big text and some more big text here. Maybe we'll do H1. I know we'll have some classes going on here, so let's put them in to start. Mine says selected works. And then another one here says here are some options. H1 again. So right now I have a div that's column 12, so it's going to take up the whole width. And then we've got two H1s here. We'll add some classes in a second, but let's go to the browser and see what this looks like. 3, 2, 1, refresh, and it needs to be centered again. Maybe it should be styled a little differently too. Maybe this is not an H1, maybe that's an H2 or 3 or something like that. Go to our code and start doing some stuff. For one thing, this needs to be centered, text center, same as this one. Maybe this one's an H2 instead. So let's start with that. Save this, 3, 2, 1, refresh. Now they're in the center and it's pretty good. Maybe this isn't really a heading after all, but we can change that later. What we want is more space in between the selected works and the div above it. So again, we want my5. 3, 2, 1, refresh. Now I got a little extra space here. Looks pretty good. Original like this. Ours is like this. That's pretty good. So next we need to build an about section, big profile pic and some extra text here. It's all kind of nice. We can go back to Bootstrap and then in our card section, there's a horizontally aligned card or arranged card that we can use. We scroll down some, not this one, not this one, not this one, not this one, not this one. Actually past this, not quite. Here it is. So horizontal. So this is a horizontal card. So let's copy this code here. And then let's take it over to our browser here, or our code here. I'm going to reduce the space here. Again, start a new row. And then I'm going to paste in what we just copied. And again, if yours pastes in kind of funny, you can always tab it in here and set it up the way you like it. So let's save this. Let's go back to our browser to see what it looks like coming in. 3, 2, 1, refresh. And we've got a card. Okay, so card hero on the left. We have to move it over and put a picture in there. And then I'll leave the text for you to change. So again, our target is something like this, using this, and then let's do a little styling to get there. So let's add a picture. So that picture is here. Again, IMG. Now I'm not going to use my own profile pic. I'll just use this pic. Bob JPEG. Alt. Bob. Back to our browser, 3, 2, 1, refresh. Here's the picture. Profile picture here. Now let's get it to moving over to our code here. So we need to move this into the center. Let's go back to our code. Now before, when we were doing our text in the center, we used align self center on the div that's directly a child of the row. So let's try that down here for our last card here. We'll add align self center. Save this, 3, 2, 1, refresh, and nothing happens. So one thing it might be is this card has a max style width of 540 pixels. So if we change this to maybe 100%, see what it does. 3, 2, 1, refresh. Now the card itself takes up the entire width of the browser. I don't think that's exactly what I want. I wanted something like this. So maybe 100% is not quite the number. Maybe 60% is the number. 3, 2, 1, refresh. And that looks a little bit better, but it's still stuck to the left. It's not centered, align self-center. So we can't use this. It's not working. So another way to center text or center a div is to use justify content center. So if we save this back to our browser, oops. 3, 2, 1, refresh. That didn't work either. So perhaps that's not quite the one to use. Let's try a different one. We can try it on the row itself. Maybe align self-center would work here. Let's just see. Save this. 3, 2, 1, refresh. That didn't really work either. So one more thing to try is to try this one as justify content center. Save. 3, 2, 1, refresh. Now we got somewhere. So that's a little better. We do want to add more margin or padding to give ourselves a little more room there. So let's try it here. PY5. 3, 2, 1, refresh. Well, that actually gave us a little padding here. That wasn't quite what we wanted. So not here. Let's do it here instead. PY5. 3, 2, 1, refresh. A little bit of room, not a whole lot. Maybe that's okay. Let's just quick try margin Y5 here. 3, 2, 1, refresh. Let's see, just about the same result. Well, that's not too bad. So you can change this text. My text looks like this. This is a matter of changing text. Let's move on to the last piece, which is this final footer here. And just for example's sake, I'm going to show you how to use a Jumbotron. Jumbotron over here, showcasing hero unit style content. So we're going to use this whole piece here. We'll copy this and then paste it into the last row of our page here. So one more. Oops. One more row div. I'm going to paste it in right in here. Again, going to just tab it in so it's a little more readable. So I save this back to my browser. 3, 2, 1, refresh. And now I got a Jumbotron here. And now maybe I'll do the same thing to move it into the center. So back to our code. So let's try a few things. Maybe we'll try align self-center. See if that moves things to the center. Nope. Maybe justify content center. 3, 2, 1, refresh. That didn't really work either. Maybe we need to use justify content center in the row, like we did the last time. 3, 2, 1, refresh, and that worked. So that moved things into the center. One more thing you could do instead is to, instead of row, you could do Jumbotron MX auto. So margin X direction auto, save this, 3, 2, 1, refresh. If it works, it should stay in place. And it did. So that also works. So you could do justify content center in the row div and MX or MX auto in the next div underneath. So here's the end result. I'm not going to change the text. the original looks like this. You can add an email address. You can add icons. You can use Font Awesome icons. Bootstrap actually includes icons now. You can get those here. Where are they? Somewhere in here, icons. So if you go to here, you can get icons for your Bootstrap site. So here's the end result. Scroll to the top, we got here, big row, takes up the whole height. Another section here with some text. 4 cards for Bootstrap cards, and then a 5th card with about information, and then a Jumbotron at the bottom, which you can use as a footer. Mine looks like this. So let's see if we can add some length to that Jumbotron. Do Jumbotron fluid. 3, 2, 1, refresh. Oh, that wasn't quite it. One thing we hadn't shown so far was navigation. So how would you use navigation here? So we can just drop in a navigation up here, one of these, or a nav bar. So let's try a nav. Let's just copy this first one and stick it in the top of our website here. So that goes here at the beginning of the container. Again, let's just tab this in so it's nice and even. Save this, go to their browser, 3, 2, 1, refresh, and actually has it here. So you can do things to style this properly. Maybe for example's sake, we'll just do BG dark, 3, 2, 1, refresh, and now we have a background dark here. You'll notice there's a little extra spot here of padding. This is extra padding, or it might be margin. It's probably padding. We can get rid of that in our code. Try doing px0 here in the navigation. 3, 2, 1, refresh. It didn't help. Maybe it's margin in the X direction. 3, 2, 1, refresh. That didn't help either. So what is it? So if we check this in the developer tools, so right click, inspect. We see as we highlight different sections of the code here, it looks like it's part of the actual container fluid part here. So if we click on this, scroll down, we see that there is padding right and left here, 15 pixels. We don't want that. So we can fix this by going to the code. Instead of doing MX or PX here, that'll go up here, PX0. So if we refresh this, 3, 2, 1, refresh, now there's no extra space there. So here's our final product. You can add a navigation if you like, but here's our section here. Second section, cards, and about, and then this footer, which is really a Jumbotron with a little button. Here's our example site.